What was the most embarrassing tantrum you've seen a grown-ass adult throw? Am I the only one that feels a strange mix of anxiety and shame about pulling up to the drive-thru without knowing the exact order I want to place ahead of time? I don't get fast food often, so I really don't have the menus memorized, but when I did I would go inside to order so I could look at the menu standing off to the side until I knew what I wanted. Since most places around me became drive-thru only with no option to go inside, since COVID, I went over a year without fast food with the exception of occasionally grabbing some nuggets and fries for the kids. I do business with a local AT&T store. I was in getting a phone for our company and this guy was trying to get an iPhone for his teenage daughter. I'm not sure what went on, but they apparently didn't have the exact phone she wanted and they were going to have to order it. That wasn't good enough, so he started having a full-blown temper tantrum saying the sales associate was ruining his daughter's birthday gift. The manager comes out to see what's going on and there's another customer who's in there and this dude is like 6 feet 5 inches, goatee, bald head, roided up with full sleeve tattoos, and he says, "Hey, calm down," and the angry dad said, "Who said that?" The bald giant said, "I did," in a very angry voice, and the dad just put his head down and shut up. The manager was trying to see what was going on and the dad was like, "We're gonna go now." I sell safety equipment to major companies. You have to have paperwork to get discounts for this stuff. I've had multiple grown men come in, tell me they work for X, and they want the company discount. I tell them I need their forms, and they begin throwing a fit. They throw around the whole, "Do you know who I am?" bit, and get even madder when I in fact do not know who they are. If you were such a big shot, why don't you have the form? I've had similar at the hotel I work for when it comes to business rates. We have a flat rate of around 15% discount for generic and some have higher based on their negotiated rates. These pair of guys come in wanting the rates for the negotiated rate but to not be put through the corporate lodging system because they found out what they pay CL is far more than what CL pays us for their rooms and just wanted to cut out the CL middleman. We cannot do that for obvious reasons and they aren't supposed to know how much their rooms cost to avoid this situation. They only found out because we had a poorly trained, loose-lipped new girl spill the beans. I once had someone refuse to give me a name for an order, not food related. The job was expected to take roughly half an hour. They were like, "Can't you just remember us?" I said I might not be here when they get back, just give me any name. So they clearly made one up, something like John Smith. They came back hours later, even though they promised to be back in half an hour, gave me their real name instead of the fake one, then started getting shitty when I couldn't find it. I remembered who they were eventually, but I thought it might be a good lesson in why you remember your damn fake names. My own mother. We were getting food at a food truck. They must have pressed the wrong button or something because she got charged for $11 when it should have been $10. My mom immediately blows up at them about it, demanding they give her back her $1. The cashier apologized profusely and said it was a mistake. They got the manager or owner or whatever to come over and help refund the money. The whole time they're trying to figure the computer out, my mom is ranting and raving about how they were overcharging her on purpose to pocket the money since she didn't tip. She calls them thieves and criminals. I straight up told her I'll give you $1 right now if you stop, and of course she says it's all about the principal, though face with rolling eyes. Customer service for a doctor's office's credit card program. Spent 45 minutes trying to help a doctor change his password. I couldn't actually help them because every time I would tell them to do something specific they would do the stress sigh sobbing kind of thing. Would remind me every 30 seconds that he went to school for 8 years so he wouldn't have to deal with this. Mind you, he was clearly in his 20s to 30s, not an old guy that has an excuse not to know how to do this. After the 45 minutes of this rotation, he finally passed the phone to his receptionist. We shared a laugh over his attitude, and we reset the password in 30 seconds. My sister had the worst temper of anyone I've ever known. We were at the drive-thru at McDonald's. She ordered McNuggets with barbecue sauce. When we got to the window, she was handed the nuggets but no sauce. So she just sat there staring expectantly at the cashier. Finally she said, "Well, are you going to give me my sauce or what?" The cashier turned to the side, away from the window. My sister said, "Excuse me? Are you deaf? Where is my sauce?" The cashier said, "I'm getting it." The cashier handed over fistfuls of sauce packets and didn't do it in a friendly way. So my sister threw half of the packets directly at the face of the cashier and called her a bitch. Then she drove out of there like a bat out of hell. I absolutely hated going anywhere with my sister because she regularly caused a scene over the dumbest things. Worked electronics at Walmart during the summer. Super busy with only 3 associates and probably 20 people all wanting help getting phones off security pegs or had questions about different products. This one lady decided that she was the most important customer there, and just started screaming at the top of her lungs, "Help! Somebody help me! No one is helping me!" We called a supervisor and they helped her. Helped her leave the store immediately. Worked at river rafting place. Guy threw a fit because he didn't want to pay $20 for a shuttle ride for him and his girlfriend. He said that he should be able to pay $10 because he was bringing 25 people that weekend. I eventually got him to just pay the $20, and over the course of filling out his paperwork he said that he didn't have a reservation for the weekend, he was testing the river today to decide if he was going to bring them. So basically, I shouldn't have to pay full price, I'm giving you so much business. But also I haven't actually done any business with you yet. Worked at McDonald's in high school. There were a few, but one stands out above all of the others. It's lunchtime and we are busy. The filet-o-fish is not a particularly popular sandwich, so we only ever had a couple pieces of fish ready to avoid having to throw them away. Dude comes to the drive-thru and orders 4. I kid you not, as his order is popping up on our screen, the hold timer for the 2 fish we had already made was going off. We have to fry 2 regardless, so we decide to just make all 4 fresh. Manager apologizes and tells the guy to pull forward and wait. He's not happy, but he does. Meanwhile, we keep serving people who didn't order fish. After the 3rd or so car gets their order and leaves, this dude is in the lobby demanding to see the manager. He wants to know why he is still waiting since we're clearly serving other people. Manager explains that none of those people ordered fish, and that the fish will be ready in a couple minutes. Apologizes again for the wait. Dude is pissed. Starts yelling about how it's ridiculous that we have no fish ready. Manager explains how the hold timer went off, and she wasn't about to serve anyone expired food. Since we had to make a couple anyway, we're making you all 4 fresh. Most people would be happy they weren't served questionable food. Not this guy. This guy went ballistic. He starts yelling about how we should have served him the 2 we had, and we shouldn't serve anyone else until he has his order, blah blah, you get the idea. Then he threatens my manager with physical violence if he is not served his order right now. She tells him he needs to go out to his car right now or she'll be calling the police. Dude storms out of the restaurant, slamming the door so hard behind him that he broke it. A few seconds later, we hear screeching tires as he leaves the parking lot. Without his fish. Sister was asked to serve as a POA for our crazy mother when my mother's husband died. I advised her not to as she isn't exactly competent with money or anything else that a normal adult should be competent with. A year into being the POA, someone reported her, APS was called, mother was nearly kicked off Medicare and nearly evicted from nursing home as sister was using my mother's money for all kinds of stupid shit. Family is all upset, and when informing her they thought she was lying as she is constantly traveling and purchasing shit she can't afford. She blows up on everyone, informing them she can afford her lifestyle because she has sugar daddies who pay for all her things and that everyone is just jealous. Continues to have meltdown as she doesn't understand why she can't spend money she is entitled to. Now everyone knows she's a liar and most the family are grossed out about the sugar daddy thing. I was at Friendly's with a group of friends. One of them brought their BF with them. We all get our treats and sit down. This dude comes to us and says, "Do you think I should complain about the slushie not having enough syrup?" We all kinda agree that sure, it's okay to see if they can do something to fix it. He goes up there and talks to the girl at the register. I couldn't make everything, but essentially she told them that they made it the way they're told and she couldn't do anything. He takes what remains of his slushie and slams it on the counter, getting the girl full of slushie. Yells at her that she can take the drink back then. A manager tells him that he's gotta go. We all were just in shock. Like I didn't even know where to put my face, I was so embarrassed. Him on the other hand, he wasn't ashamed at all. My friend defends her BF, saying that it wasn't a big deal and they really should have fixed his drink flushed face. I work in insurance. A customer was pulled over, but didn't have his proof of insurance with him. He asked us to send it to him, after the fact, to submit it to the courts. I sent it to him twice, each time telling him to review it to make sure he had one showing the date and vehicle of when he'd been pulled over, and if not, I'd be happy to send him what he needed. This happened twice. Weeks later, he calls, screaming at me, because our office didn't do our jobs, and now his license is suspended for not carrying insurance. I remind him that I sent him the paperwork twice as requested, asked if he could get a fax number for the court to send it directly to them. That likely would have wiped out the reinstatement fees and completely voided the suspension. Instead, he wanted to scream at my boss that we had to pay for his lawyer for him, because none of this was his fault and we didn't do what he asked us to do. It was so satisfying to hear my boss tell him, "I want to help you, but I can only do that if you are kind and respectful toward me." I was in the Air Force from 1998 to 2002. We were going out to a job site and made a food run at a Subway in Pine Bluffs, WY. They had the sweetest old ladies that worked there. On the door and at the counter, there was a sign that said, "We only have white bread." This guy waltz in, sunglasses on, and says, "I'd like a foot-long ham and cheese on Italian." One of the ladies says, "Sir, we only have white bread," while pointing at the sign. He takes his sunglasses off, stares at the lady, puts his head down, the bangs on the counter 3 to 4 times, and knocks over a cardboard Jared Fogle on his way out, about the only good thing he did in that scenario. When I was 18, I was a volunteer at my small town library. A woman, wealthy Karen type, tried to check out a book, but she had about $4 in fines for a late return on her account. When I told her she couldn't check out the book until the fines were paid, she started flipping out. Over $4. I actually thought she was joking at first, but no, 100% serious. She yelled at me, a volunteer who can't change anything, that she shouldn't owe anything. The person behind her in line, a stranger, ended up paying the fines just to get her to leave. I worked CIRC for several years and had a grown man threaten to assault me over a $1 late fine for a DVD returned a day late. He kept insisting that the person he returned it to told him they would void the fee and he shouldn't have to pay it to get his card renewed. He'd returned it to me weeks earlier. I definitely told him no such thing. Worst part, my manager at the time was a POS who openly hated me, and when I let her know that I needed her at the desk, she just voided the guy's fee, ensuring that he would continue to throw a tantrum whenever the same issue came up. I do not miss that job. I had the unfortunate experience recently of being right next to a guy in a grocery store self-checkout who was using it, but really wanted everybody around to know he wasn't happy about it. It was a guy in his 60s, kind of dressed like a biker, and he took personal offense to every single nuance of the self-checkout process. Where's the barcode? I swear they make it impossible to bleep. Place the item in the bag. What if I don't want to? Is the whole system going to explode? Bleep. Please wait for an attendant. Oh sure, let's see how this goes. They need my fingerprint and a blood sample to buy this beer? Man, I tell ya. I was having breakfast at McDonald's one morning and a guy with a girlfriend, maybe, dropped his breakfast off the table somehow and absolutely lost his shit. It was a short tantrum. He banged on the table double hammer fist style so hard it made his maybe girlfriend's platter nearly bounce off and yelled God fucking damn it, few second pause with grunts and another table bang, damn it. Then he stomped his feet real quick a few times and that's where I nearly spit my food out. I had to leave because I nearly busted out laughing and I didn't want that psycho to see me at my table holding back laughter tears. Back when I worked at an elementary school during college, some new rules got put in place assigning the kids to specific tables due to some incidents that happened. One of my co-workers refused to follow these rules and just let our kids sit anywhere. One day the vice principal came in and politely asked that my co-worker follow the new school rules like everybody else, and my co-worker went from 0 to 100 and started loudly arguing with the VP. This eventually ended up with her calling the VP a stupid bitch in the middle of a crowded elementary school cafeteria. The VP just stood there quietly, said okay, and then walked away. Never saw that co-worker again. She was a POS anyways, so good riddance. Used to have a boss with little to no self-control, and an enormous, petty ego. All the tantrums he held. All about nothing. Had the habit of choosing someone as a target for no realistic reason for some time. Once he spotted a little damage to the clothing worn by a co-worker, we had to wear low-budget costumes, and ripped it apart to stop him from wearing it again. Our team leader was furious and spoke out, which resulted in the idiot boss throwing a childish tantrum for minutes next to the target who was crying by the end of it. It was at that moment that I realized how much I hated this man. Happy to be out of there. Went to an outdoor concert with friends. He's one of our best friends. She wore an all-white outfit, to a concert where we'd be sitting on the grass anyway. He collects antiques and let her have a pair of vintage binoculars in a brown leather case. Cool, right? Oh hell no. The brown leather stained her clothes and we all witnessed a full-blown tantrum, bad words, and all. It was so embarrassing. We didn't know where to look. Our poor friend was so upset. He, thank goodness, is no longer with her. My mother is notoriously lazy. Unemployed. Sits and watches TV all day and neglects chores. There was a day where she wanted me to stop and get her some soda. I told her no, as I had been out all day and was exhausted. She threw a tantrum. Mind you, she was supposed to have gone to buy groceries by this point as my father had asked her. I end the conversation, but I end up stopping anyway just to avoid her drama at home. I give them to her and she takes a can and throws it at me as I'm going downstairs to my room. Just kept walking to not give her the attention she wanted. I had the unfortunate experience recently of being right next to a guy in a grocery store self-checkout who was using it, but really wanted everybody around to know he wasn't happy about it. It was a guy in his 60s, kind of dressed like a biker, and he took personal offense to every single nuance of the self-checkout process. Where's the barcode? I swear they make it impossible to bleep. Place the item in the bag. What if I don't want to? Is the whole system going to explode? Bleep. Please wait for an attendant. Oh sure, let's see how this goes. They need my fingerprint and a blood sample to buy this beer? Man, I tell ya.